Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that might sound a little dry at first glance, training and development. But you've sent over some really intriguing sources.
Great.
And I have a feeling this is going to be way more fascinating than just, those typical PowerPoint presentations and boring workshops.
You're absolutely right. Training and development, or T&D as it's often called, is really evolving rapidly these days.
Okay.
It's no longer just about, acquiring specific skills. It's really becoming a strategic function that can impact everything from a company's bottom line to, believe it or not, societal progress as a whole.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So before we get into all that,
Sure.
let's just kind of level set for our listeners.
Okay.
What exactly is T&D in today's world?
Well, at its core, T&D is really about facilitating learning and growth within an organization.
Okay.
But think beyond just the typical classroom setup.
Yeah.
It's onboarding new hires, leadership development, even compliance training to keep everyone on the right side of the law.
So it's a pretty broad field then.
It is. And what's really interesting is that while the methods and technologies used in T&D have changed drastically over time, that fundamental goal remains the same.
Okay.
To develop a workforce that's equipped to meet the challenges of their time.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. I'm sensing a history lesson coming on.
All right.
You mentioned things changing over time. How far back does T&D actually go?
Further than you might think. You can actually trace its roots all the way back to ancient apprenticeships.
Wow.
Where skilled craftspeople would mentor the next generation.
So on-the-job training, basically.
Talk about on-the-job training.
So T&D is older than sliced bread, huh?
Pretty much, but it was the Industrial Revolution that really formalized T&D as we know it.
Okay.
Factories needed workers with specialized skills to keep those assembly lines humming.
Right.
So structured training programs started to emerge.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Mass production needs a mass of skilled workers.
Exactly. And, it's fascinating how that focus on efficiency in the Industrial Revolution mirrors the current emphasis on data-driven training that we see today.
Oh, interesting.
We're using technology to personalize learning,
Okay.
track progress, and really measure the impact of T&D programs.
So it's like T&D is constantly adapting to the demands of the time.
Precisely. And with technology evolving at an even faster pace today, think about how much more T&D will transform in the years to come.
That's a good point. That historical context is really eye-opening.
Good.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Yes.
You mentioned T&D playing out differently in various sectors.
Yes.
What makes the government approach to T&D unique, for example?
Well, in government organizations, compliance and regulatory knowledge are absolutely paramount.
I'll bet.
You've got to make sure everyone understands and follows all the rules, procedures, and ethical guidelines.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I imagine in the private sector, it's more about the bottom line,
Yes.
profit growth, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're on the right track. Private sector T&D is very heavily focused on performance improvement, innovation, customer satisfaction, and ultimately staying ahead of the competition.
So different priorities, different pressures, but ultimately both sectors need a skilled workforce, right?
Absolutely. And that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Despite those surface-level differences, both government and private organizations share a common goal when it comes to T&D.
What's that?
They both want to cultivate a workforce that is not only skilled, but also engaged and motivated.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. It seems like T&D is less about ticking boxes and more about empowering people to really perform at their best.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the process of T&D is so important.
Okay.
Whether it's in government or the private sector, successful T&D programs share some key components.
Lay it on me. What are these magical ingredients that make T&D work?
First up is needs analysis.
Okay.
Figuring out what skills are missing, what knowledge gaps exist, and what training is actually needed.
So it's like taking a company's temperature, seeing where the aches and pains are, before you prescribe any medicine.
I like that analogy. It's about diagnosing the problem before jumping to solutions.
Makes sense.
Then comes instructional design,
Okay.
actually creating the training program.
Got it.
And this goes beyond just putting together some slides.
Yeah.
You've got to consider learning styles, adult learning principles, and how to make the content engaging and effective.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
This is where applying specific learning theories and instructional design models can really elevate the effectiveness of the program.
All right, so we've analyzed the needs.
Yes.
We've designed the training. What's next?
Next comes the delivery phase.
Okay.
How you get that training to your audience.
Got it.
And the options are vast these days.
I bet.
In-person workshops.
Yeah.
Online modules. Simulations, on-the-job mentoring, even virtual reality experiences.
Whoa. VR training. That sounds pretty high-tech.
It is. And choosing the right delivery method,
right,
or a blend of methods, is really crucial.
Yeah.
What works for a technical skill might not be the best approach for developing leadership qualities, for instance.
So T&D is getting pretty sophisticated. But at the end of the day, how do you know if any of it actually worked?
That's where evaluation comes in.
Oh.
You need to measure the impact of the training.
Right.
Did people learn anything?
Yeah.
Are they applying what they learned on the job?
Makes sense.
Is it leading to improved performance or other desired outcomes?
I'm guessing it's more than just asking people, did you like the training?
It definitely is. Effective evaluation often involves data collection, performance tracking, and even qualitative feedback to really understand the impact of the program.
So data, feedback, impact. It sounds like T&D is getting pretty scientific.
It is becoming more data-driven. But what's really interesting is that human element is still crucial.
Right.
Feedback from participants, trainers, and stakeholders is essential for refining and improving the program. It's a continuous loop.
Okay, we've got the components down.
Great.
But who are the people behind the scenes making all of this T&D magic happen?
That's a great question. There's a whole cast of characters involved in T&D.
I bet.
You've got senior management setting the vision and strategy, making sure that T&D aligns with the organization's overall goals.
So they're like the architects of the T&D program.
Exactly. They're the ones deciding where to invest resources and how to prioritize different training initiatives.
Then you've got HR. I imagine they're deeply involved.
Absolutely. HR professionals often manage the day-to-day operations of T&D.
Makes sense.
They plan, coordinate, implement programs, and track everything from budgets to participant feedback.
So they're the ones making sure everything runs smoothly.
You could say that. Then, of course, you have the trainers and instructional designers, the people who actually develop and deliver the training. They're the ones on the front lines engaging with participants and really making that learning experience come alive.
So they're the ones who need to be experts in their field and know how to teach effectively.
Precisely. And we can't forget about the most important stakeholders.
Who's that?
The employees themselves.
Of course. They're the ones who benefit from the training after all.
Exactly. Their active participation, engagement, and feedback are critical to the success of any T&D program.
It's a team effort then. Everyone has a role to play.
That's right. And sometimes organizations will bring in external training providers to offer specialized expertise or resources they don't have in-house.
So it's like calling in reinforcements when needed.
Exactly. Now, to really see how all of this plays out in the real world, let's dive into a fascinating case study about a company called Global Tech.
Ooh, I love a good case study. Tell me more.
Global Tech was a mid-sized technology company facing a lot of the challenges we've been talking about.
Like what?
Trouble onboarding new hires quickly, struggling with leadership development, not to mention all the new regulations popping up in their industry.
Sounds like they had their work cut out for them.
They did. But the interesting thing is they recognized the power of T&D to address these issues head on. They invested in a comprehensive T&D program that touched every level of the organization.
And what were the results? Did it actually make a difference?
The results were remarkable.
Really?
New employees were getting up to speed much faster thanks to their revamped onboarding process. Managers reported feeling more confident in their leadership abilities. And the company saw a significant improvement in compliance.
Sounds like a win-win-win situation.
It was, but what I found particularly interesting was that Global Tech's focus on career development had a ripple effect across the entire organization.
How so?
Their employee engagement went up.
That's great.
They saw a noticeable decrease in turnover. And ultimately, their bottom line improved.
So investing in their employees' growth actually paid off financially.
Exactly. Global Tech's story is a great example of how T&D, when done right, can have a profound impact on an organization's success.
I'm seeing T&D in a whole new light now.
Good.
It's not just about acquiring skills. It's about creating a culture of learning and growth that benefits everyone involved.
That's a great insight. And what's fascinating is that the same principles that apply to organizations can also be applied to your own personal development.
Wait, are you saying I can create my own personal T&D program?
Exactly. You can use the same framework, minutes analysis, goal setting, developing skills.
Got it.
Getting feedback to take charge of your own learning and growth.
That's actually pretty empowering.
It is. You don't have to wait for someone to give you permission to learn and grow.
Right.
You have the power to create your own learning journey.
Okay. I'm officially intrigued. But before we go down that rabbit hole,
sure,
let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with more insights from the deep dive.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back and ready to dive deeper. Before the break, you were dropping some serious knowledge bombs about applying T&D principles to personal growth.
Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Well, think about it.
Okay.
Needs analysis, setting goals, developing skills, getting feedback.
Right.
It's the same process we use in organizations, but on an individual level.
So instead of waiting for my company to offer like a training program, I can be proactive, identify my own needs, and kind of create my own learning plan.
Exactly. Figure out what skills you need to advance in your career.
Okay.
What knowledge gaps you want to fill. Or even explore a new interest.
That you're not limited by what your company offers.
It's a really interesting perspective. You know, I've always kind of passively waited for those opportunities to come my way.
Yeah.
But I love this idea of taking ownership of my own learning. But where do I even begin?
Well, it starts with some self-reflection.
Okay.
What are your long-term goals?
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
10 years?
Okay.
Once you have a vision for your future,
right,
you can start mapping out the skills and knowledge you need to get there.
Okay, so it's kind of like creating a personal roadmap for my career. What's next?
Next is identifying the resources and opportunities that are available to you.
Okay.
And there are so many options out there these days.
Like what?
Online courses, workshops, books, conferences, mentorship programs.
Right.
Even just reaching out to people in your network who have expertise in areas that you're interested in.
Okay. That's a lot to take in. I'm already feeling a little overwhelmed. I understand. It can definitely feel daunting. But it doesn't have to be. Start by picking one skill or one area of knowledge you want to develop and just focus on that.
Okay.
Break it down into smaller, manageable steps.
So instead of trying to learn everything at once, I should pick a specific focus and create a plan around that.
Exactly. Remember Global Tech's approach?
Yeah.
They didn't try to fix everything at once.
Right.
They started with a thorough needs analysis and then strategically addressed those key challenges.
Okay.
You can apply the same principle to your own development.
So create a me-focused needs analysis.
Exactly.
Set realistic goals.
Yes.
Find the right resources. And this is crucial, right?
Yes.
Get feedback along the way.
Feedback is vital.
Okay.
It helps you refine your skills, course correct if needed, and make sure you're on the right path.
Got it.
Seek out feedback from mentors, colleagues, even friends and family who can offer different perspectives.
Okay, I'm seeing the connections here. It's like I'm creating a customized T&D program for myself.
Yes.
Using those same principles and processes that we've been discussing for organizations.
Precisely. And just like with any good T&D program, it's about continuous improvement.
Okay.
Learning is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's about consistently seeking out new knowledge, refining your skills, and adapting to that ever-changing world around us.
And that brings us back to that idea you mentioned earlier about T&D and societal progress.
Yes.
How does personal growth tie into like the bigger picture?
We live in a time of unprecedented change.
Yeah.
Technology is advancing rapidly. Industries are being disrupted.
Right.
And the skills that are in demand today might be obsolete tomorrow.
I hear that a lot, but it's hard to truly grasp what that means for me, for my future.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
The more people who embrace this mindset of continuous learning and development, the more adaptable and resilient our workforce, our communities, and our society become.
So it's about future-proofing ourselves.
Yeah.
Both individually and collectively.
Exactly. Investing in our own growth and development is not just about getting ahead in our careers.
Okay.
It's about becoming active participants in shaping a future where we can all thrive.
I'm starting to see how this all connects now. We've come a long way from those ancient apprenticeships to today's sophisticated T&D programs.
Yeah.
but it's all about adapting to change and preparing for what's next.
It's a fascinating journey, isn't it?
It really is.
And while the tools and technologies have evolved, that fundamental human desire to learn and grow has remained constant throughout history.
It really has. This deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening.
And it's far from over. You know what's interesting?
Oh, come on, great.
What's so interesting? Well, this whole conversation about T&D and personal growth, it kind of ties into something much bigger, something we haven't explicitly touched on yet.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's this idea of creating a learning ecosystem.
A learning ecosystem.
Oh.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
It's about intentionally cultivating an environment that supports your growth and development.
So it's not just about the individual courses or books I choose. It's about the bigger picture.
Exactly. Think about the resources you have access to.
Okay.
The communities you're a part of.
Right.
The mentors who guide you.
Right.
The information you consume.
Yeah.
It all contributes to your learning ecosystem.
So it's like building a network of support for my learning journey.
Precisely. And just like a natural ecosystem, a learning ecosystem thrives on diversity.
Diversity in terms of what?
Diversity of perspectives, sources of information, learning styles.
Right.
You don't want to be in an echo chamber where everyone thinks the same way.
Right.
You want to be exposed to different ideas, different approaches, different ways of thinking.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about challenging my assumptions and expanding my horizons.
Exactly. And that's where the communities you engage with become so important.
You mean like professional networks?
Yes.
Online forums, even just groups of friends who share similar interests?
Exactly. Those communities can provide invaluable support, feedback, and inspiration. They can help you stay motivated, accountable, and connected to the bigger picture of what you're learning.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together. It's not just about acquiring knowledge in isolation.
Right.
It's about being part of a larger network of learners.
Yes.
And kind of sharing that journey with others.
And that shared journey is what ultimately drives progress, both on an individual and a societal level.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've covered so much ground.
We have.
From the history of T&D to its impact on organizations and individuals, and now this fascinating concept of a learning ecosystem.
And we've only scratched the surface.
I believe it. There's always more to explore.
Always. So as you move forward, think about how you can cultivate your own learning ecosystem.
Okay.
What are the resources, the communities, and the mentors that will help you thrive on your learning journey?
That's a great question to ponder. And honestly, after this deep dive, I'm feeling really inspired to take a more proactive approach to my own learning and development.
That's the spirit. Remember, the world is your classroom.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep building your own unique learning ecosystem.